This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
On halftime, Alyssa Orange from Pig Trail Nation joining us here. Always appreciate her time today. Alyssa, congratulations on a division champion. You thought I was going to the Dolphins first.
I thought you were going there
first.
Woo!
That's second. Congratulations on the Dodgers. Weird deal, celebrating before they actually had a chance to celebrate. And now, congratulations on your Dolphins coming from behind, beating Drew's Ravens. That one was better for me.
2-0, huh? Yeah, that was awesome.
Very
good.
Funny.
Yeah.
Real quick, I do have an extra stat for you, Alyssa, since you are a Dolphins fan, and I'm a good loser, so I can admit when I've been beat, and we were beat. You know, Phil talked about it earlier before we had you on that Tua tied the sixth touchdown. But actually, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who both had over 170 yards on Sunday, it's just the third time in NFL history that multiple players on the same team each had 170-plus yards receiving in the same game. So
that's wild.
There's another feather for your cap.
Well, thank you.
Is it more? So we get a question from Hogballer, because we were talking about this in the last segment. Is it Tua? Mm-hmm. Or is it throw the ball up and let the fastest man or men in football go get it?
Both.
I think that's the right answer.
It's both, though. It's all about who Tua is throwing it to. That's the answer.
Right, and it's all about it's also all about chemistry, between them and the understanding of. Where you got to put the ball in order for the guy to make a play. I mean, you saw that with KJ and with Traylon Burks all the time last year.
Yep.
And, of course, when one of the big plays, what was it, like 80-yard touchdown throw against A&M last year? That's where things really started to open up. I remember going into last year's game against A&M, we were like, well, we just saw them demolish Texas. Hopefully they can, put together a good performance against A&M, but I'm not sure if we were really positive what we were about to see. Going into this game, I'm just surprised the Aggies are the favorite with the problems that they've had moving the ball. And I think Arkansas, look, they're going to face the best defense they've faced so far. But I'm not sure if I see them slowing down all that much.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. I was a little surprised that it's a favorite, but the line is, 2.5, so that's not too much. And I think the biggest question for the Aggies and something that Arkansas can take advantage of is just the quarterback situation. You have Haynes King, who started the first two games, and then it's Max Johnson, who gets to start last week. I went back, guys, because I was just curious, because everyone talks about how Jimbo Fisher is a quarterback guru, and you do have to tip your cap at his quarterbacks in the past. But this is the first time that Jimbo Fisher, not barring injury, has changed quarterbacks in the middle of the season, mid-season, since 2007 when he was the first-year offensive coordinator at Florida State, and he had Drew Weatherford and Xavier Lee, and it was back and forth all the time. But after that, you had Christian Ponder, then you had E.J. Manuel, then you had Jameis Winston, then you had DeAndre Francois, and then Francois gets hurt, and you have James Blackman. Then you go to Texas A&M, and you have Kellen Mond until last year, and you had Zach Calzada. So, I don't know what's happening over there, but their quarterback situation is in trouble. And I think if Arkansas does anything, you exploit that and you expose that. And look, you lead the league in sacks right now, so take advantage.
That's exactly right. Look, I expect A&M to try to keep this to a grind it down to the very end kind of a game. I think they're going to turn and hand it off to Devin Achane quite a bit. Mm-hmm. I think Johnson will try to run a little as well. I'm not sure about their set of receivers. I know Anais Smith is a good receiver. After that, I'm really not quite sure.
It's really it.
So Smith is it as far as receivers go. Achane's a really good running back. You can't take that away from him, and they've been opening up some holes for him. But, A&M seems much, much more one-dimensional. And I'll tell you, if this group of receivers outside of Smith is able to get behind the Arkansas secondary, which has been an issue for these last 3 weeks, I guess I'd feel a little more surprised.
Yeah, I think so. But you also have to wonder what A&M is doing, because I think if there's any glaring hole with this Arkansas team, it is that secondary. And how fortunate that they've been that some balls have been overthrown here and there. But that Missouri game, I think, exposed that secondary a lot. And so if you're Texas A&M, that's what you're circling. And they're like, look, we have weaknesses right now. We have no idea what our identity is yet, but we're going to exploit this and see if we can be successful with it. So if it is Max Johnson who starts on Saturday for Texas A&M, do not be surprised if they try to take some shots downfield early to see what they can get.
Yeah.
So tell me this then, Alyssa, is are we focusing too much on the negative? We had a caller earlier. It's like, you know, and I can appreciate the idea that people have texted in, called in, pointing out the things that we've seen that need to be fixed. Coaches obviously are well aware of this too, but this isn't like 3 years ago. Like I don't feel like the conversation these past couple of days has just surrounded missed tackles and receivers running free, because I mean the team leads the nation in sacks. You've got Rocket Sanders, who's really breaking out, looks like a true national star on every level. I don't think the conversation has just been about the negative. I don't think anybody really wants to focus on just that, because the team's good.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. I mean, we have given Drew Sanders all the praise because he deserves it as well. And Matt Landers, I went on and just wanted to praise Matt Landers because I really think that he could be that guy at the end of the year that we point to as KJ's go-to person. We don't know, but that relationship seems to be continuing to grow, and I want to see where it goes. But I think right now with Arkansas as a top 10 team, that is the conversation of this team is really, really talented, and we're not taking anything away from it. But if they want to be better, if they want to be in Atlanta competing for an SEC championship this year, that defense secondary has to be better, period. Right? And so it's not being negative. It's saying in order for this team to take a step forward, because, heck, yes, they're very, very, very good. This is what they have to do to be that much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing that really jumped off the page at me just watching that game on Saturday wasn't just the secondary or the missed tackles. It was who was missing the tackles. I can't remember a time, Alyssa, where I've ever seen Bumper Pool have so many Olay misses like that. Like that was just such out of character for him.
It was, and I kind of mentioned this on Sunday, is I think a lot of it had to do with not being in the right spot. I really felt like that when I watched that game, that defense at times looked confused or got tricked or wasn't in the right spot. And it's really hard to tackle when you're not in the right place. So I don't necessarily think it's, this team is really just bad at tackling. And they have some improvement to do there for sure. But I also think, too, if you look at it and you maybe broke down the film, I wouldn't be surprised if the answer is, well, you weren't in the right place to begin with, thus you're now just having to run and hope to grab the guy. Because I did feel from where I was sitting that the defense got caught off guard more times than I would have liked to see in that game from my perspective. And so maybe it has more to do with that than just overall bad tackling, and that's all that it is.
Mm-hmm. On the offensive side of the ball, another thing that kind of stood out to me was the drops, obviously, for one, but the drop by Trey Knox that led to the KJ's only interception thus far this year. He had a great week 1, decent week 2, not a very good week 3. How do you see Trey Knox kind of fitting in this offense matched up against a defense like A&M?
Oh, I think he's going to be valuable just because of his size and his physicality. And I think if there's anything at all, just period, in between Arkansas and Texas A&M, it's that physicality. Arkansas goes and is the more physical team. They win this ball game on Saturday. But talking about Trey Knox, I mean, I was tweeting from the Pig Trail account, and after that happened, I was like, man, that's bad luck. And everyone's like, no, it's got to drop pass. It's got to drop pass. And I was like, maybe I just didn't see it correctly, but it like bounced off of him into the air and just happened to fall in the other guy's arms. Like, that's what I meant with bad luck. Like, the dude just happened to be right there and the football fell into his arms. And that was just unfortunate in that scenario. I don't think that it just was just a blatant drop from Trey Knox. It just bounced off his hand into the air, and that guy happened to be there. But I don't think that takes anything away from Trey Knox. I think he'll be a huge piece of the game plan this week, especially because of his size, and if they could see what they can do, getting him the ball, especially on just some chunk plays.
Well, I mean, let's look at what's ahead here. It's all division opponents for the next 3 weeks. I mean, you get A&M. A&M was picked second in the division by the media. Heck, sixth in the country. Preseason looks a little bit, a little silly right now. Alabama after them. I think Arkansas and Alabama ought to be a great game. CBS certainly thinks so. And then it's Mississippi State. I mean, you've got it right in front of you here, and it's not like, winning this Saturday means you got control of the division. But, I mean, if you're competing for the West Division, and Arkansas right now is in a position that I think they can compete for the top of the West Division. It's right there in front of you for these next 3 weeks because Mississippi State's good, Alabama's Alabama, and A&M was picked in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's when I said, going back to the conversations we're having right now, Phil, is if you want to be in Atlanta, you got to fix these things because you got to fix them now because this is it. This is that stretch. Who is going to be in Atlanta? Possibly A&M, maybe Alabama, probably, unless you beat them, and then Mississippi State is always good for playing really, really well at home, and you got to go beat them on the road. So you got to clean this stuff up now because you got a goal to get to the SEC championship game. So this is it. This is the stretch. Now, that's not saying you win these next 3 games and you're an automatic shoo-in for Atlanta because anything can happen the rest of the year and you still have to win the ball game ahead of you. But that focus is pretty much if you want to get there and you want to win the SEC West, it starts Saturday with Texas A&M. I don't care if they lost to App State because that loss doesn't matter in the SEC West rankings. It's all about the SEC games that you play. So you got to go beat the Aggies first and take care of business, and then you got to see what you can do against the Crimson Tide at home. And then, golly, who knows what's going to happen come Starkville if you can beat A&M, pull off maybe one of the biggest wins in recent program history and beating Alabama. So it'll be interesting.
Well, and hopefully people are a little more friendlier in the parking lot than when we heard from the crazy story after Saturday. Yeah. I mean, it was described as a road rage incident in a parking lot. I think people understand the frustration you can feel in a parking lot, though, but I'm not sure if anybody that's listening ever got to the level where they put teeth on someone else's skin because of it. Now, Alyssa, you are one of the friendliest and nicest members of the Arkansas media. And that's saying something. So everybody gets road rage, even you. Have you had? I mean, not to the point where you're going to bite somebody, but come on.
I'm not biting off anyone's noses or punching out their back window. Which, by the way, that story was on Kid Craddock's morning show this morning when I was taking my kids to the car. Like, that's making national headlines. But at least the football team got a shout out, and they were like, "Oh, he was just at the Arkansas football game. They're pretty good. They're ranked." So I was like, "Oh, that's kind of funny." But I have been known to get a little frustrated with people when I'm behind the wheel and just vocally say some things out loud. But that's it. I'm not coming after you. It's not worth it.
Windows still up. Yeah, windows up. Not meant for anybody's
windows
consumption.
are up. I'm still driving. I'm just like, man, you are something, and then I go on with my day and I'm fine.
Good answer. I put you on the spot with that, Alyssa, because I knew you'd give a good answer. Appreciate you. Thanks for hopping on.
With you.
Well, you're never going to be anything but honest, that's for sure. And nice, too. And windows up, though. Windows up. Alyssa
Windows
Orange.
up. Windows up.
Big Trail
Exactly.
Nation. Talk to you next Tuesday.
BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BELIEVE, BLEAV 50. That's BELIEVE, BLEAV 50. Bet online, where the game starts.